Okay, so we got several questions here about getting a CDL. Let me just read this. This section covers who needs a commercial driver's license, getting your CDL, medical certification and waivers, driver disqualification, nationwide CDL rules, Washington state laws. Man, this is fogging. The Commercial Motor Vehicle Safety Act of 1986 requires all states to meet the same minimum standards for testing and licensing commercial vehicles. Your commercial driver's license is proof that you have the professional skills needed to safely operate commercial vehicles. All commercial drivers throughout the United States are required to have a CDL. This manual will help you understand and meet the driver licensing requirements and standards. All drivers need to study Section 1, 2, and 3. Who needs a CDL? You must have a CDL to drive any of the following vehicles, which include any single vehicle with gross vehicle weight rating of 26,000 pounds or more, a combination vehicle with a gross combination weight rating of 26,000 pounds or more, if the trailer has a GVWR of 10,000 or more pounds. I'm not sure about... Okay, gross vehicle weight rating is GVWR, and then gross combination weight rating is GCWR. Okay, in the absence of a GCWR value specified by the manufacturer, the GCWR will be determined by adding the GVWR, which is gross combination or gross vehicle. Okay. Adding the gross vehicle weight rating of the power unit and the total weight of the towed unit. All vehicles designed to transport 16 or more persons, including the driver, okay, they need a CDL. This also includes private and church buses. Any sized vehicle which requires hazardous material placards or is carrying material listed as a select agent. Let me get rid of the fog again. Let's see. These vehicles are divided into 3 classes, A, B, and C. Use figure 1.1 to see if you need a CDL and what class of CDL you need. A higher class CDL allows you to drive vehicles in any of the lower classes. Yeah, of course. It just kind of trickles down. If you have the correct endorsements, okay. You may need endorsements added to your CDL if you will drive passenger carrying vehicles such as buses, including all school buses, pull double or triple trailers, drive tank vehicles, drive any sized vehicle that is used in the transportation of any material that requires hazardous material placarding or any quantity of a material listed as a select agent or toxin in 42 CFR 93. I have no clue. There are 7 endorsements and 1 restriction related to CDL knowledge testing. Study figure 1.2 to see if they apply to you. Occasional drivers also need a CDL and any required endorsements. For example, mechanics or truck salespeople who test drive the vehicles described above on a public highway. So if you test drive it, you'll want that CDL. You must pass the knowledge and skill tests to get a CDL. This guide will help you to pass these tests, but is not a substitute for training class or program. Formal training is the most reliable way to learn the special skills required to safely and professionally drive a large commercial vehicle. And then there's a chart, figurehead chart. Exemptions. Pretty much the farmers, firefighters, because firefighters get their own type of thing, recreational vehicle operators, military, commercial. Okay. Then there's a bunch of endorsements. Getting your CDL. To get a Washington CDL or commercial driver instruction permit, you must be 18, have a Washington driver's license, Social Security. They want a 10-year history of where you've been driving. You need to complete the application process, vision screen, medical, pay your fees. Okay. That's called the CDIP, Commercial Driver Instruction Permit. Visit the website, more information. To get a CDL, you must also complete knowledge tests, skills tests, proof of completing a commercial driver training program. There are 3 ways to satisfy Washington State's mandatory CDL training requirements. Okay, do a course at school. Hours of training must meet the requirements. Just clean that up some more. Complete a certified commercial driver training course for any branch of the military. Drivers using this type of training certification must have possessed an equivalent military commercial license. Proof of military training must be provided within a year after they get out. Okay. It's mandatory for commercial drivers to disclose their social security number. Must be at least 21 years old to operate commercial vehicles interstate. Okay, so to get the application for this Washington CDL, it's 18. Interstate, it's 21. This permit is valid for 6 months. Okay. May be renewed once. That's it, I guess. When operating a commercial motor vehicle on public road, the CDIP, which is commercial driving, commercial driver instruction permits. Okay. So, let's get back to that. The CDIP holder must be with another driver who has a CDL valid for the vehicle being driven, no less than 2 years driving experience, no less than 5 years total driving experience. Wow. Alright, just asking for a lot of years. The licensed commercial driver must occupy the seat, but that's for Washington. I mean, other states might be different. The licensed commercial driver must occupy the seat beside the learner. CDL holders cannot drive any sized vehicle that is used in the transport of any material that's hazardous. All fees are in addition to those for your basic driver's license. Okay, knowledge tests. CDL knowledge tests are used to evaluate your understanding of laws and safety practices that apply to the operation of a commercial vehicle. You must earn a passing score of at least 80% on each knowledge test to qualify. If you need to retest, you can usually do so on the next business day. We suggest that you check testing times and availability with your local driving license office. You must take one or more knowledge tests for the class of vehicle you want to drive, each endorsement you want, removal of the air brake restriction. CDL knowledge tests include the general knowledge test required if you want to get a CDL. The air brakes test required if your vehicle has air brakes, including air over hydraulic brakes. The combination vehicles test required if you want to drive combination vehicles. The doubles, triples test required if you want to pull double or triple trailers. The tanker test required if you want to haul liquid or liquid gas in a permanently mounted cargo tank rated at 119 gallons or more, or a portable tank rated at 1,000 gallons or more. The hazardous materials test requires if you want to drive any size vehicle that is used in the transportation of any materials that require hazardous material placarding or any quantity of a material listed as a select agent or toxin in 49 CFR 100-185. In order to get this endorsement, you must also pass a Transportation Security or TSA background check. That's for the hazardous materials. The passenger test, required if you want to drive any type of bus. The school bus test, required if you want to drive a school bus. And there's a figure. Skill tests. After you pass the required knowledge tests, you can take the CDL skill tests. There are 3 required skill tests. It will take about 2 hours to complete all 3 of these tests. Both state testers and contracted third-party testers are used. Third-party testers are used to meet skills test demands. In most cases, you do not get to choose what type of tester you can use. The licensing office will determine which type of tester will be used. CDL skills tests must be scheduled 3 days before the test. This applies to taking your first test and, if necessary, scheduling for a retest. There's an outline of the 3 parts of the CDL skills test. First, it's the pre-trip inspection. Next, it's the basic controls, and then the road test. Review sections 11, 12, and 13. Oh, how nice. Nice train. And 13 before taking the skills test. The vehicle you use for the skill test must match the class of CDL you apply for. If you apply for a Class A CDL, bring a Class A vehicle. If you apply for a passenger or school bus endorsement, bring a bus designed to carry 16 or more persons including the driver or the proper size of school bus. If you test with a third-party tester, you may be randomly selected to complete a skill retest with the Department of Licensing. Just a second. Okay, so licensing, I said. Bring a randomly selected to complete a skill to ensure testing practices were correctly followed. Okay. If you refuse to retest or you cannot pass the retest, your CDL will be canceled until you pass. If you don't pass the retest on the first try, you may be required to provide a test vehicle and pay testing fees for additional attempts. CDL skills tests are required if you are adding a CDL to your license, upgrading your Class C to a B, upgrade B to an A, adding a passenger endorsement, adding school bus endorsement, removing an air brake restriction. Okay. Commercial driver training schools. Employers and drivers found practicing on DOL's certified CDL test routes. Let me just... they're coming. Commercial driver training schools, employers and drivers found practicing on DOL's certified CDL test routes will result in cancellation of CDL skills test appointments or having to test in another area. Renewals, upgrade. Let's give them a minute here. I'm gonna roll down my windows more. Need to get better airflow. Okay. Alright. Renewals, upgrades, and adding endorsements and removing restrictions. After a CDL is issued, to apply for a CDL renewal, upgrade, endorsement, or restriction removal, you need to provide updated information, successfully complete all required knowledge and skill tests, pay the proper fees. If you are applying for a hazardous materials endorsement, you must also comply with federal requirements by completing a National Hazardous Materials Endorsement application, providing proof of citizenship, submitting fingerprints if you want to keep or add hazardous materials endorsements. Fingerprints. Pass a hazardous materials knowledge test if you want to keep or add a hazardous materials. Yeah. Oh, the knowledge tests. Yeah. Alright, surrender of your CDL. If you surrender your CDL or any endorsement, you must retake the knowledge or skills test and pay all the proper fees to get your CDL. If you surrender your CDL for more than a year, you will also be required to provide proof of commercial driver training. Okay, there's test questions. What class of CDL do you need? What endorsements do you need? What items do you need to bring to the driver's license office? Wow. I have no idea. What items do you need to bring to the driver's license office? I don't know. My regular driver's license. I'm not the application. Yeah. Yeah, I need to bring oh no, my social security number. That's probably important. Oh, okay. Yeah. Completed the application process. Money. Money speaks volumes. Alright. Medical certification and waivers. All commercial drivers must meet the medical standards established by federal and state laws, rules, and regulations. Medical certificates. Federal regulations require all CDL holders, including entry-level drivers operating on a commercial driver learner's permit, to self-certify what type of commercial commerce they expect to operate. This must be completed in person or at any driver licensing office. The medical self-certification will then become part of your electronic drive record. The table outlined in Figure 1.4 may assist you in determining what type of commerce fits your operation. You may change the way you certify anytime in person or any driver license office. Type of certification, so there's cross state lines while operating a commercial vehicle. Okay, yeah, that's interstate. Yeah, is this about medical stuff? Don't cross state lines while operating a commercial vehicle. That's for non-accepted intrastate commercial driver. Okay, interstate medical waiver. If you don't meet the federal medical standards for interstate commerce, you can apply to the Department of Licensing for an intrastate medical waiver. This waiver is valid for operation within the states, valid for no more than a 2-year cycle, issued only to Washington licensed drivers or those who have an active application on file. If you need an intrastate waiver, okay, just go through the process there. It takes, alright, intrastate medical waiver. May be eligible if you're insulin dependent, monocular vision, missing a limb, impaired use of hand. Okay. Driver disqualifications. You cannot drive a commercial motor vehicle if you are disqualified for alcohol, leaving the scene of an accident, and commission of a felony. It is illegal to operate a CMV if your blood alcohol is 0.04 or more. If you operate a CMV, you shall be deemed to have given your consent to an alcohol test. You will lose your CDL for at least 1 year for a first offense for driving a CMV if your blood alcohol concentration is more than 0.04. Driving a CMV under the influence, refusing blood tests, driving under influence of drugs, leaving the scene, committing a felony, driving with a suspended license, causing a death. You will lose your CDL for at least 3 years if the offense occurs while you are operating the CMV that is placarded with a hazardous materials. So it's a little tougher for hazardous driving. You will lose your CDL for life for a second offense if you use a CMV to commit a felony involving controlled substance. You'll be put out of service for 24 hours if it's detected that you have alcohol in your blood or in your system. Serious traffic violations. If convicted, or if you are found to have committed 2 serious traffic violations within 3 years while operating either your personal vehicle or a commercial vehicle, you may lose your license for 60 days. A third conviction within 3 years results in a 120-day disqualification. Serious traffic violations include excess speeding 15 miles over, reckless driving, negligence, texting, improper lane change, driving a CMV without earning a CDL, driving a CMV without a CDL in your immediate possession, driving CMV without the proper class or endorsement for the vehicle, following too close, violating a state or local law other than parking that arises in connection with an accident or collision resulting in the death. Violation of out-of-service orders. You will lose your CDL for at least 90 days if you've committed your first violation of an out-of-service violation order. 1 year if you've committed 2 out-of-service violation orders in a 10-year period. 3 years if you've committed 3 or more out-of-service violation orders in a 10-year period. Okay. Violating an out-of-service order while you operate a commercial vehicle placarded and carrying hazardous materials or transporting passengers results in disqualification periods that increase severely with each offense. And the disqualification period for a first-time offense will be doubled. Any violations beyond the first may result in a loss of your CDL for up to 5 years with each conviction. Railroad highway grade crossing violations. You will lose your CDL for at least 60 days for your first violation, 100 days for your second within 3 years, 1 year for your third violation within any 3-year period. This includes any of the following 6 violations at a railroad highway grade crossing: failing to slow down and check tracks, failing to stop before reaching the crossings if tracks are not clear, even if you are not always required to stop, failing to stop before driving onto the crossing when you are always required to stop, failing to drive completely over the crossing because you did not stop when there was too little space to finish the crossing, failing to obey crossing arms or signals, a traffic control device, or the directions of a police officer at a crossing, failing to clear the crossing because of too little undercarriage clearance. Impound. If you operate any vehicle without having the required class or endorsement, the vehicle may be impounded. Hazardous materials endorsement, background check, and disqualifications. To get a hazardous materials endorsement, you must submit your fingerprints and be subject to a background check. You will be denied if you lose your hazardous materials, or you will lose your materials endorsement. If you are not a lawful permanent resident of the U.S., renounce your citizenship, are wanted for felony, have a conviction in the military for felony, have been judged to be insane, are considered a security threat by the TSA. We will give you all of the information you need to complete the required TSA background check procedures. Traffic violations in your personal vehicle. The Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Act, MCSIA, of '99 requires a CDL holder to be disqualified from operating a commercial motor vehicle if the CDL holder has been convicted. If your privilege to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, you will also lose your CDL driving privileges. If your privilege to operate your personal vehicle is lost, okay, yeah, there's a couple different ways that you could lose the CDL from a violation with your personal driving. Okay, violation of traffic control, you lose that. Okay, so alcohol, they're given a little different. Yeah, you lose your regular license, you lose your CDL. You lose your license to an alcohol violation. You could lose your CDL for 1 year. Second offense, it's for life. I don't know why you'd even bother making alcohol a different situation. Disqualification. There is no occupational restricted driver license available for the operation of a commercial motor vehicle. Due to federal regulations, if a CDL holder enters into a deferred prosecution for an alcohol or drug offense, there is no stay of an administrative CDL suspension, revocation, denial, or disqualification based on the same incident, regardless if the incident was committed in a private or a commercial motor vehicle. Deferred prosecution for an alcohol, there is no stay of an administrative CDL suspension. So if you no occupational restricted driver license available for operation. There's no restricted driver license available for the operation of a commercial vehicle. There's no restricted driver. Okay. Due to federal regulations, if the CDL holder enters into a deferred prosecution, there is no stay of an administrative CDL suspension. There is no stay of any administrative, so they won't stay your CDL. Regardless if the incident was committed in a private or commercial vehicle, entry into a deferred prosecution program may still stay the administrative suspension, revocation, or denial of the personal driver's license, unless there has been a breath or blood test refusal. But the CDL, okay, in the end, there's no stay on your CDL if you're awaiting prosecution. It must be surrendered. Simple as that. It's either you have a CDL or you don't. You may be eligible to get your CDL again when the disqualification period has ended. You may lose your CDL for 1 year or longer. You must first pay all the required fees and successfully complete both the CDL knowledge and skill tests to be reinstated. If your CDL has been disqualified for more than a year, you will be also required to provide proof of commercial driver training. You may also be disqualified from driving a commercial vehicle for 1 year if we receive a report from FMCSA or FMCSA showing that your driving behavior is a threat. So that's where those people will call in and on your sticker and report you. The law requires medical review officers and breath alcohol technicians to report positive drug and alcohol findings, refuse tests, and failure to appear for testing. When we receive a report, the CDL holder is disqualified from driving a commercial motor vehicle. You will be disqualified when we receive a report from any of the following screenings: pre-employment, random, reasonable suspicion, post-accident, return to duty, follow-up. Alright, the disqualification rule, and this is all for drugs. The disqualification will remain in effect until you undergo a drug alcohol assessment program or performed by a substance abuse professional or a SAP. Substance abuse professional, great acronym. Who meets federal certification standards. You must present evidence of satisfactory participation or successful completion of any treatments and or program recommended by the SAP. You may request a hearing to challenge the disqualifications within 20 days from the date of notice you receive from us. Nationwide CDL rules. These rules affect commercial drivers in all states. No one is allowed to drive a commercial motor vehicle without a CDL. Okay. A court may fine you up to $5,000 or put you in jail for breaking this rule. And this is nationwide. You cannot have more than one license. If you break this rule, a court may fine you up to $5,000 or put you in jail and keep your home state license and return any others. You must declare your commercial driver's driving status as either an interstate or intrastate driver by completing a medical self-certification with us. You must update your status if your medical certification changes for any reason. You must notify your employer within 30 days if conviction for any traffic violations except parking. Okay, within 30 days you must notify your employer of traffic violations. I was thinking like 3 days. 30 days, that could be kind of generous, I guess. You must notify us in writing of all out-of-state traffic convictions within 30 days of the conviction. For your convenience, an out-of-state traffic convictions report is available on the website. You must file proof of financial responsibility with us if your personal driving privilege is suspended or revoked. If suspended or revoked, your commercial driving privilege may be disqualified. Filing must include a letter from your employer's insurance company providing that you are insured to operate commercial vehicles. You must notify your employer within 2 business days if your license is suspended, revoked, or canceled, or if you are disqualified from driving. Okay. You must give your employer information on all driving jobs that you have held in the past 10 years. You must do this when you apply for a commercial driving job. Okay, so if you already have the CDL, you still need to give them proof of your driving. Regardless, CDL isn't like all he needs to see. If you have a hazardous materials endorsement, you must surrender it. Wait a second. Okay, surrender it and notify the state that issued your CDL within 24 hours of any conviction. Oh, alright. So regular CDL is 30 days, hazardous materials is 24 hours, or found not guilty by reason of insanity in any jurisdiction, civilian or military, for a disqualifying crime. If you have been judged to be mentally defective, if you renounce your citizenship. So you have 24 hours for the hazardous stuff. You Your employer may not let you drive a commercial motor vehicle if you have more than one license or if your CDL is suspended or revoked. A court may fine your employer up to $5,000 or put them in jail for breaking this rule. Oh. Yeah, so the employer gets put in hot water too. All states are connected to one computerized system to share information about CDL drivers. The states will check accident records to be sure drivers don't have more than one CDL. You must be properly restrained with a seatbelt at all times while operating a commercial motor vehicle. The seatbelt holds the driver securely behind the wheel during a crash. Okay, helping the driver control the vehicle and reduces the chance of serious injury or death. If you do not wear a seatbelt, you are 4 times more likely to be fatally injured if you are thrown from the vehicle. And test your knowledge. Can you drive a commercial vehicle after drinking 1 beer after lunch? No. If your driver's license is suspended, when do you have to tell your employer? 30 days? Do you need to inform your employer of convictions for traffic violations you receive in your personal vehicle? Yes. What traffic convictions are you required to report? All the non-parked ones. Can you lose your CDL for offenses committed in your personal vehicle? Yes. Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious. These questions, maybe on the test. Washington state laws and rules. All commercial drivers are required to know the state laws limiting the size and weight of vehicles and loads. You must stop at open weigh stations for weighing and inspection. Washington State patrols, troopers, commercial vehicle enforcement officers, and local law enforcement officers all have the authority to stop drivers on the road to conduct inspections. Violations for being oversized or overweight, for operating defective equipment, or for lacking the proper licenses and permits can result in citations and fines. If you ignore if you drive right by the weigh station, you most likely will be cited and fined. I could just see that. Length. Maximum legal length for school buses and other single motor vehicles, except certain municipal transport buses, is 40 feet. For auto stages is 46 feet and includes front and rear bumpers. For a single vehicle or trailer in a combination with or without load is 53 feet. Okay, auto stages is 46 feet. What's an auto stage? I'm not familiar with what that would be. For double, single vehicle or trailer for double trailer combinations can't exceed 61 feet for all the trailers. For truck and trailer combinations or log truck and stinger steered pull trailers with or without load cannot exceed overall length of 75 feet. So those trees can't be longer than 75 feet. I suppose you could get some like that. The above limitations don't apply to vehicles transporting poles, pipes, and machinery. Okay. Vehicles transporting structural objects that cannot be taken apart. Vehicles operated by a public utility when making emergency repairs. Okay. So there are exceptions to the length. Loads may not extend more than 15 feet behind the center of the last axle, or more than 3 feet beyond the front bumper. Okay. Any load extending beyond the sides or more than 4 feet beyond the rear of the vehicle may have the extending portion marked with some flags, 12-inch red flags or red lights. If visibility is poor, red lamps and reflectors are needed. If you haul objects like poles or logs, you must place a red light at the most extended point of the load. This light must be a combination light visible from the back and both sides. Okay, width. No vehicle with or without its load may be more than 8.5 feet or 102 inches wide. Okay, yeah, that'd probably be for the lanes. Traffic lanes, probably like 10 feet wide or something. Rear view mirrors may extend to no more than 5 inches beyond the extreme limits of the body. 5 inches. All other equipment, including all safety equipment and parts such as door handles, door hinges, mud flaps, fender extensions, and turn signal brackets, may reach no more than 3 inches beyond the extreme limits of the body. Okay. The body of the vehicle. Height. No vehicle, including its load, may be more than 14 feet high. This limit does not apply to emergency vehicles or utility repair. Even though you know the height of your vehicle or load, always make sure there is enough clearance, especially when driving in unfamiliar areas or bad weather. When you are approaching a tunnel or overpass on a new route and there is no clearance sign visible, safely pull off the road and check the clearance height. Ice, snow, or road repairs may reduce a clearance that is normally enough to pass beneath. Weight. The allowable gross weight of a bus or truck depends on tire size, the number of axles, and the spacing of axles or axle groups. No vehicle may operate on public highways with a gross weight, including load that is more than 600 pounds per inch of tire width, concentrated on one tire. So, each tire holds 600 pounds. For example, a tire size, well then depends on the width. Tire size 10 to 22 is 10 inches wide, this is an example, and may carry 6,000 pounds. Axles carrying more than 10,000 pounds and equipped with single tires are limited to 500 pounds per inch of tire width. For exemptions, contact WSP Commercial Vehicle Enforcement. Maximum weights for commercial vehicles in Washington are 20,000 pounds on any single axle, depending on the tire size. Okay. 34,000 pounds on tandem axles spaced less than 7 feet apart. 40,000 pounds for any single unit vehicle supported by 3 or more axles. 80,000 pounds for any combination of vehicles. That's a lot of weight. Alright.